Thank you for coming. I was told that Bea had died shortly after midnight, and I thought that was really sweet that she made it through her 94th birthday. And then I was told that there's a possibility that she actually died at the end of her 94th birthday, which is also, for her, I think that was I don't know how people do that, how they say, well, I've seen my family now, and because her sister came to visit a few weeks ago, and Patty obviously is always there, but Bill came, and some more of his gang, and somehow, and she made it through her birthday. They had a birthday party. She had her cake and everything, and died peacefully in her sleep, which is the way we would all pray to go, and was 94. And it's not that some of us don't wish we were more than 94. The last few months have been kind of rough for her, but that was very sweet, I think. We all die. It's one of the realities of living. I'm going to put this, before we even start, I want to put this a little bit into perspective, into Jewish perspective. We always remember when someone died, sometimes by the events that happen around us. In Jewish tradition, the portion that we read this week is called Acharei Mot, which means after the death. That's the name of the portion. And it has guidelines a little bit about what happens after someone dies and how appropriate. I don't think that's what she was aiming for, was the after death Torah portion. It's also not long, just a week after Passover, which means, among other things, we are counting. The tradition is that we start counting the night after Passover, and we're counting up. And that's when I realized the connection about birthday and that she was counting up. In the Tanakh, in the Bible, in the Hebrew Scriptures, Solomon was purported to have said that the day of death is better than the day of birth. He says when you're born, it's not known what her life will be. But when she dies, however, if she dies with a good name and leaves the world in peace, people should rejoice. And so I'm giving that to you. It's hard to rejoice, except you got to celebrate her birthday together. She had a wonderful life. And I give that to you because I think it's what we would want. And I'm going to give you one other quote that comes from a very strange source for a rabbi to be quoting. There was a lama, a Tibetan lama, who said, "We die not because we are ill, but because we are complete. Illness is the occasion of our dying, but it's not the cause." Somehow I feel like she truly believed that her life was complete. I find peace in that, and I hope that we can find peace in that. Our responsibility today is to begin the process of honoring Bea's memory and learning how to live our lives fully without her here. It is obviously not easy because she lived a long, wonderful life filled with friends and many experiences. She touched many people's lives and became indispensable in ways that will be difficult to try to do without. Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid, I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side. I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure. For you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful ones see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. Death has taken our beloved Bea. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, May they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For B's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator. In light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. We will be reading from what you have on the back of your handout. Most of you do not need those words. We say them at just about every funeral or memorial service. You know, by the way, that B chose to be cremated, which is why we did not announce a burial. Billy was cremated too, her husband. And I point out that when we read this, even though you've heard it before, I think that you will find that you hear it in a new way as we think about B. But with your indulgence, I'm going to say a few lines of this in the Hebrew first. It really flows beautifully, I think, in Hebrew. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, benot deshe yarbitzeni, amei menuchot yinachaleni, nafshi yeshovev. But please join me in the English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What can we know of death? We who cannot understand life. We study the seed and the cell, but the power deep within them will always elude us. Though we cannot understand, we accept life as the gift of God, yet death, life's twin, we face with fear. But why be afraid? Death is a haven to the weary, a relief for the sorely afflicted. We are safe in death as in life. There's no pain in death. There's only the pain of the living as they recall shared loves and as they themselves fear to die. Calm us, O God, when we cry out in our fear and our grief. Turn us anew toward life. Awaken us to the warmth of human love that speaks to us of you. We shall fear no evil as we affirm your kingdom of life. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and the valley of the shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave and that there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai natan, God you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God you've taken away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust, before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and love, as we now say, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach, blessed be the name of God, now and forever. We're going to take a moment. Bill said he would like to say a few words. Are you okay? Come on up. If you can come up and down the stairs. I got a microphone for if you don't want to come up and down the stairs. It's not fun.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I know. It's me.
When I started to think about what I might want to say today, I It was my 7-year-old grandson that actually gave me some words. When Susan told him about Bea, he said, you know, she really lived 4 lives. And she said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, there was her life, and there was Papa's life, which is what he called me, and there was your life, talking to his mother, and there was my life. And what I think he was really trying to say, and he didn't really understand it, is she lived through 4 generations. And when you think about 4 generations, 94 years, there's certainly a lot that can be said about what happened over those 94 years. But I thought I'd focus on just 2 little things, or 2 big things. The first is family. She got to see her family really grow from Patty and I. And let me take this time to just publicly thank Patty for all she's done to help her mother over the last many years. I couldn't have done it. But there were Patty and I, and we grew to Susan and Stephen, and they got married, and now there's a whole flock of us out there, and she got to see that family grow. The second thing is friendship. We lived here for many, many years and developed some really fantastic friendships over those years. Unfortunately, so many are gone today, but it was a great run with all these friends. Whether it was the old Tuesday night game or the myriad of card games and mahjong games that seemed to run every day, or the time at Lakeside, or the times that Sundays that were spent with the Selbers and the Goldbergs and the Levys at Bistineau. A whole set of friends that really made life here terrific. And just one other item. Bea was frail all her life. You certainly wouldn't have called her an Olympic athlete. But she was feisty. She knew what she wanted. She knew how to live her own life. And she did. She lived life according to the way she wanted to live. And just let me say, Bea, sleep well.
That was my line, the feisty thing. I like that. I tried to see her a few times in the past few weeks. The last time she was sleeping, but the time before that, it was right at the end of breakfast. And that's exactly what I said. I said, it was a good visit. She was feisty. She talked about what foods they brought her that she didn't want and which ones she wanted. And we had a great conversation about how she grew up in Marshall, Texas, and the people I know still, the Carrolls in Marshall, Texas. I spoke with her sister, Fan, who's watching live stream right now. We hope it's all working, and with Terry last night. And Fan talked about growing up with her. She said, you know, we were 6.5 years apart, and for a long time we didn't have much in common, and I loved what she said. She said, because Bea was, she called her the perfect Southern belle. And I think that's a perfect way of describing her. Fanny said she was more like a tomboy and that they didn't have much in common until they both got married, and then they became close, and Fanny moved here and was here for a long time, and it was a good conversation, and she's going to miss her. And Terry told a story that some of you may appreciate. Apparently there was a family gathering, and something about, and you probably will remember this better than I tried to picture this, I could kind of picture it, that everybody was at the same hotel, and that Bea had this habit of making sure her hair didn't get messed up. So she put toilet paper all around her hair. And so one day Terry came out with toilet paper all around her hair too, and they had a good laugh about that. Do you remember this? She was trying to say good times. They remembered good times with Bea. And I'm sorry that they couldn't be here, but we told them they could be here. They're watching right now. We hope it's all working. I wanted to point out other things about how important the family has been here in B'nai Zion as well. Because we talked about, should we do the service here? Should we do it at the Oaks? Because most of her friends had to commute to get here. They're all at the Oaks now, many of them, and most of them, and it might have made sense to do it over there. But there's so much Blumberg here that it made sense to do it here. It's an important thing. When you have a service in the chapel at B'nai Zion, at the temple, then it shows that you're honoring that person for the role that they played here. And she was so active in sisterhood for so many years, and her husband Billy made some of my favorite sculptures from here. If you walk into the parlor, which I think is where we're going right after this, you get to see what I call the power menorah, and that was his sculpture. And then the ark that we use for the High Holy Days, whenever we're in the Lefkowitz Hall, we call it now, was his carving. It was his artwork. It's gorgeous, and it's got all kinds of symbolisms built into it, and he was a wonderful artist. And I'm sorry I didn't get to know him, but your touch is everywhere here still. We take a moment now of silence to remember B. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. God, you give us loved ones and make them the strength of our life, the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way. But you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow-laden for consolation. Oh God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures. We see that you endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and your glory. Please rise if it's comfortable for you to stand. If not, we say you can rise in spirit. And I am with you. I am holding on. This first prayer, with your indulgence, I'm going to say first in Hebrew. It is the prayer that I say ushers the soul into the next part of its journey. But I will say it in English as well. El malei rachamim, shochen bamromim, hamsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei shchina, im kedoshim uteorim, kezohar harakia, mazhirim et nishmata shalcha la'olama. Bal harachamim yastireha beseta knafav l'olamim, v'yitzor b'tzorachim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachlata, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkavah, v'nomar, Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to be, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. I invite you now to turn to the inside of your handout. This is the Mourner's Kaddish. Many of us are too familiar with having to say the Kaddish. But if you look at the bottom left, you'll see the translation, which we don't often look at. And you'll notice that there's nothing about death in this whole prayer. It's only a prayer that praises God. It was written in the Aramaic, ironically, so that we knew what we were saying when we said it out loud. And it's the oldest call and response prayer that anyone knows about in all of history. But the important thing is that we join our voices together. So if you know it and you can read the Hebrew, the Aramaic, if you can read the transliteration, or if you read it in English, what's important right now is if you are so inclined to please raise your voice with us and join us. We say with the mourners, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv, v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach la'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha v'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu va'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. Let all who are gathered here repeat these words after me, speaking them to the mourners. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Hamakom yenachem etchem betoch sha'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Now go forth in peace to life. We cannot honor her memory in the short time we have together, but we can rejoice for having known her. Please join us in the reception and make sure you tell some great stories about her. I want to hear some stories. Please join us in the reception. We're in the parlor, aren't we? Please come join us in the parlor where you see the power menorah. Thank you.